morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Darnell Brown. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the City of Cleveland. We're glad to see you here this morning. As we enter the snow season, we want to talk to you about the City of Cleveland's winter preparations. And I think that's important because at the end of the day, our goal is to be prepared for any event that may arise as we come into snow season. Obviously, snow season is very difficult in terms of the ability to be accurate in the prediction of the location and the frequency and the scale of a storm. So I have a number of people here today that will try to give you a context of how we go about preparing and the fact that there is a strategy that we use. We actually have a snow emergency appendix that we use for directing how we respond to each type of snow event. Again, the authority to respond to a snow emergency really primarily falls on the Department of Public Works. They are the lead agency in any type of response we have, but we do that through the NIM system, which is the National Incident Management System. They are the incident commander in coordinating any response that we might have. This is including a structured plan to clear streets for both normal and any extenuating circumstance or large impactful snowstorm event. Again, this includes being in a situation where they manage through Public Works normal response, and in instances where we're required to activate the Emergency Operations Center and coordinate through a multidisciplinary type of process. Here with me today to help explain how this strategy works, I'm going to be calling upon the Director of Public Works, Michael Cox, who'll be followed by Robert Kennedy, who's the Director of Port Control, followed by the Director of Public Safety, Michael McGrath, who would be followed by the Public Utilities Director, Robert Davis, and then finally Alex Pelham, who is our Emergency Center Operations Manager. So they're going to come and kind of share with you the elements that we put together in terms of how we respond, what our current level of preparedness is, equipment that we have, and how we will be moving forward. When that is finished, we'll be available for any questions and answers. At the end of the discussion, those who would like to, we're going to take you upstairs because one of the new tools that we do have this year that we'll be utilizing is the AVO system, the automatic vehicle locator system, which allows us to have an opportunity to understand where all our assets are at any point in the City of Cleveland, and what parts of the City of Cleveland have been covered as a result of our snow response. So I'm going to ask Director Cox to come and kick us off in our discussion today.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. As Chief says, my name is Michael Cox. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Cleveland. I'm going to go over our equipment and our personnel today. First of all, we have 122 snow removal drivers that will be working this winter. We start 3 shifts on Monday. We'll have first, second, and third shift, 24-hour coverage. We have ancillary employees, seasonal municipal labor, service laborers. We have construction operators who load the salt, and we have a radio operation that goes through 24 hours a day. We have 71 snow vehicles in our fleet that are up and operational. We have 15 pickup trucks with plows. The pickup trucks are used by the supervisors, and they are used on alleys and small streets where we can't get the larger trucks down. We have 13 road graders that we will bring out when necessary. When we get a heavy snow, we'll bring our road graders out. And we have 14 front-end loaders that we will bring out, a total of around 113 vehicles that we have that we use for snow removal operations. In our inventory right now, we have 24,000 tons of salt that we're ready to put on the ground. All of our domes are full, and we're working on getting more salt. We have also had the capacity to buy 55,000 more tons of salt this year as we go. The snow plow operation and the snow removal policy is that we clear all of our main streets first. We have 54 main streets that we clear first. We get into a fair condition before we turn into our residential subsections. We'll turn in those residential subsections after we get fair condition on our mains, and then we have 292 subsections that we clear during every snow. The priorities become schools, hills, bridges, and those subsections with those kind of amenities in them are first. We also have a working cooperation with CPD, UCI, Cleveland Clinic, police traffic control when we're trying to get traffic in and out of downtown Cleveland. So everybody's working. When we call UCI, we talk about how we get traffic control down at that end of the city so people can get up those hills, and we salt those hills and bridges first. So we work through that thing. Again, our main streets are done first, then our secondaries are done. The fair condition may not be it may not be running wet, but we will turn back into our mains after we get through our residential streets. And we'll go back again to clean those up, the residentials as we go through. We have a process by which we look at snow and what the time frame is for getting in the mains and getting out of the mains and getting into our residential streets. 1 to 4 inches of snow. We expect to clean our mains on a shift, 4 to 8 hours. That's 1 to 4 inches. We then anticipate getting into our residential streets 24 to 36 hours after the snow stops. I want to make that clear. We have to wait till the snow stops before we go in. 4 to 6 inches is 8 to 12 hours to clean those mains, and 36 to 48 hours to get into our residentials. 6 inches or above is 8 to 16 hours on the main streets and 48 to 72 hours to get into those residentials. We have approximately 8,000 residential streets in this city that we have to clean, and we'll be cleaning them 24 hours a day. That's basically where we're at with our plan and our equipment. I'll turn it over now to Director Kennedy.
Thank you, Director. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Kennedy. I'm a Director of Port Control for Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and Burke Lakefront. This is my first, coming up on my first full winter season here in Cleveland. I'm glad to be here. As a Florida boy, you wouldn't expect to hear that often, but I came in January of this year and got a good taste of winter, but we're prepared for going forward for a full season. As we look at it at the airport, we have almost 24 million square feet of pavement that we have to take command and control over, and we have to make sure that our manpower, which we're fully staffed with over 80 people, 80 staff to accommodate our snow clearing requirements. Our materials, we have over $2 million worth set aside for materials such as salt, formate, and so forth that we use on there. And then it becomes the methods. And we have a good solid snow and ice control plan that we've developed. We've had consultation with the Federal Aviation Administration and review of that. Then comes the next part, the training. We have been training since October 1st, the first week of October, in fact, not the first, but it was a Sunday. But since that time, we have been training on the material, on the equipment that we have, and on the facilities we have at our airports. We have over almost 24 million square feet of pavement at Cleveland Hopkins alone. Through a grant at the FAA, within a month, we will open up our new 97,000 square foot snow removal equipment storage facility. And that you'll see that announcement coming out very soon when we're going to announce that. Through a grant of the FAA, we have new equipment. We have 6 multi-purpose trucks. This is the brooms and the plows that we use on the runways. We have 5 large loaders added to our fleet with plows, 1 material spreader, and 2 liquid de-icer tankers since our last season. So we've added in our materials, we've added in our manpower, and we've added in our equipment that's available. We're quite proud of where we are. We're quite proud of the team as they work. If you're out at the airport any Tuesday or Thursday, snow, rain, shine, our teams are practicing. So they're ready, they're geared up, and next Tuesday morning, you'll see shortly an announcement where we're going to have an event at Cleveland Hopkins, so you can get up and close and personal with the equipment, some of the members of the team, and see the process that we have going forward out there. So we're prepared, we're ready. I may come from Florida, but I got to guarantee you, I'm quite proud of the knowledge that the Cleveland team has given me about snow and ice control plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director McGrath to talk about public safety. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we know it's going to snow. It's guaranteed. We know we're going to have messy streets, traffic issues. We know that wires are going to come down, and we know that trees are going to come down. That's a given for Cleveland during the winter season. What I'm going to provide today are some recommendations from the different divisions within public safety for the residents and those folks that work here in the city of Cleveland. And the two keywords are preparation and planning. And I'm going to touch on those recommendations now. Division of Fire. We know in the winter season we have a higher incidence percentage of home fires. It just happens, not just in Cleveland but other cities. So what's at the forefront there? Smoke alarms. If you don't have a smoke alarm in your home, get one. Get them. If you do have them and you haven't changed the batteries out, when you can remember the last time, change the batteries out. A smoke alarm will do you no good if it does not function. Very important. Next thing, as far as the fire recommends, is carbon monoxide, gases, fumes, whatever that may be. When we go into the winter season, furnaces, old furnaces, hot water tanks, old hot water tanks, people running their cars to warm them up in closed garages. These things are all a problem. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer. It is a silent killer. And I know that sometime over the next few months, we're going to have some carbon monoxide issues here in the city of Cleveland. We ask residents to get those detectors in their homes. If you don't have a detector and you smell something and it's unusual, make a call. Make a call to the fire department, make a call to the utility company, but just don't disregard it and go to sleep at night. That's a no-no. As we proceed in the winter season, we have heating, lighting issues, etc. People like to use space heaters. And if you purchase a new space heater, follow the directions. If you have an old space heater, rule of thumb is don't place it close to anything that's flammable. Specifically curtains, those lace curtains that run up and down the windows, old couches, chairs, newspapers, etc. Space heaters can cause you problems. Stoves. Power goes out. You're going to heat your house with the stove? Not recommended. Grills. People bring grills into their homes and on their porches to heat their houses. That's a no-no. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. And candles. Lights go out, you have candles going. Don't ever go to bed at night, leave a candle going, and don't ever leave your home with a candle going. These are things that you have to be aware of. You have to plan for and you have to prepare. During the holiday season coming up, Christmas, a lot of extension cords, a lot of candles. You have to be aware of all these things, these electrical hazards, and make the necessary preparations to do it properly. Most important plan for you at home is to have a plan, to have an emergency exit plan, especially at nighttime. Talk to the family members. Talk to your friends if they live with you. Have a plan so if something happens in your home, for example, a fire in the middle of the night, you have somewhat of an idea of what to do, and then also designate a predetermined meeting place outside your house. If a fire starts in your house and you can't get downstairs, you have a plan you're going to use this window. Well, make sure this particular window isn't painted closed. And also have a predetermined place so when people exit the house, you go to a predetermined place so when the fire department arrives, you can say, hey, listen, we're missing my brother. He's up in this northeast corner or whatever it may be. But the pre-planning for an emergency at your home is very important. Division of Police. Real simple. Weather should not dictate your speed. Weather should dictate your speed, distance, and maneuverability with your vehicles. Just because you have a four-wheel drive doesn't mean you can drive like it's normal conditions. Actually, on a freeway, when you have the four-wheel drives crank along at 65, 70 miles an hour, they are very dangerous because that four-wheel drive will not hit them if they hit a bunch of slippery stuff, especially the slush in the street. Seatbelts. Pretty common. Use your seatbelts. Have your passengers use your seatbelts. Have your children use your seatbelts. And most importantly, if you have an infant seat, don't put it in the front facing the airbag. If you have a collision, that airbag's going to go off and hit that young infant very severely in the front section. Another recommendation from the Division of Police is prepare your vehicle for the winter season. Very important, which includes wipers, windshield fluid, scraper, flashlight. Ensure that your battery, your car battery, can take the extreme cold, tires, and also have extra clothes in your car. If you're going to go across town or you continually go across town, have an extra blanket, extra clothes, etc. And in today's world, make sure your cell phone's charged up. If you're going out of your house and you can see your cell phone is very low and you know the conditions are bad, I would take a few minutes and recharge my cell phone before I go out on the street. If you're out on the street, if you're stopped, stalled, stay in your vehicle with your flashers on. If you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, never stand between the vehicles, and Lord, don't walk around the vehicles while they're out there on the street. Find a safe area if you do leave your vehicle away from the crash site. Here's a real important one that happens to us every year. It's going to happen next few weeks, next few months downtown. They call it don't block the box. Don't block the box simply means this. If you're approaching an intersection and you can't pass through that intersection and you'll end up stopping in that intersection, there's a good chance you won't be able to clear it and you're going to block that intersection when the light changes and the cross traffic has to move. You block that intersection, that goes to the next intersection, and pretty soon we have gridlock downtown, and guess what? Nobody's moving anywhere, and even the plow trucks aren't moving anywhere. We're all kind of stuck, and a lot of people pretty much get upset. Next thing, snow ban. Every year when we get into the winter season, when my office issues a snow ban, I get numerous calls. What is a snow ban? A snow ban is this. It's issued by my office if there's 2 inches or more snow at the recommendation of Public Works and Streets, I may issue a snow ban. That means you cannot park on any of the streets downtown, you cannot park on any state routes, and you cannot park on any designated streets that will have signs posted. Why do we do this? To ensure that we can, number one, clear the streets and be able to get emergency vehicles to where they need to go. We issue the snow ban through the media. We blast it out. Once it's issued, you have 1 hour to move your vehicles. And we're really trying to be lenient with that. We try to give you closer to 2 hours to move your vehicles before the plows will be hitting those particular streets. And lastly, from the Division of Police, the traffic commissioner, who is with us today, if you have any questions, has a traffic flow emergency protocol. So when these things happen, he can push a button and all the staffing and everybody has their designated assignments and they just move into place. This is coordinated with the other police departments within our municipal boundaries, and it's also coordinated with Public Works and the street cleaning folks. If the street cleaning plows, say for example, need a street closed or a bridge closed like the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, they coordinate with our traffic commissioner. He closes off the area so they can clean the bridge real quick so they don't have to deal with any other traffic while they're doing that. Emergency medical services. Remember, Cold weather places additional stressors on a person's health. Make sure that when you go outside, you layer your clothing. Your exterior garments should be water repellent. If your clothes gets cold, change your clothes. Or if they get wet and cold, change your clothes. There's three things that are very important as far as being in the cold for us and our senior citizens. One is frostbite. That's where your fingers will turn white, bluish in color, they get stiff, fingers, toes. But also, frostbite affects the exposed skin on your body, meaning your face, cheekbones, nose, forehead, and chin. Not a lot of blood flow there, not a lot of stuff to insulate those particular areas. Frostbite, if you think you have it, that's immediate medical attention. Hypothermia, this is where the body cannot produce enough heat to keep itself normal. Certain things set in: fatigue, drowsiness, slurred speech, irrational behavior. If you or someone you love or someone you're associated with starts showing these types of behavior, immediate medical attention. And most importantly, know your limitations. Know your limitations. Excessive cold puts other stressors on your body, especially if you have pre-existing conditions. Give you an example. I'm a 50-year-old male. I work out at the gym all the time in 70-degree weather. We get a big snowstorm in, there's 10 degrees, and I'm going to go out there and work as hard outside in that cold weather as I did inside. That could be a problem. That could be a problem. Because if you're 50, you're not 25, and this cold weather puts these additional stresses on your body, meaning your heart. Very important. And lastly, remember, we also have our pets, our dogs and cats. They get cold just like we do. If your dogs will be outside for an extended period of time, have them a little shelter, a dog house. It should be up off the ground. There should be straw in there. If there's blankets in there and if they get wet, remove them, because that'll even make it worse for the particular animal. You need to change their water regularly. It's hard for them to drink frozen water. And also feed them more meals during the day, maybe an additional meal or two, because they need that to fuel, to keep themselves warm. And most importantly, if there's a weather advisory out and they're predicting 6 to 8 inches of snow and it's coming in at 8 o'clock at night, and if you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay home. Stay home. There's a lot of common sense things, and the worst thing here is procrastination on these things. We think it's not going to happen to us, but at those times, during those circumstances, it will. So, thank you. Director Davis from Public Utilities is next, and he'll update you on many things. Thank you.
Thank you, Director McGrath. Good morning. The Department of Public Utilities consists of Cleveland Water, Cleveland Public Power, and Water Pollution Control. And I'll talk about all three briefly. Cleveland Water is gearing up for winter main breaks by increasing staffing levels and pipe repair. We also operate and maintain a fleet of water snow plows, snow removal equipment, and vehicles stocked with cases of salt and calcium chloride to help melt salt and be available to assist Public Works if needed. In addition, we have purchased 6 new backhoes, 7 new 2.5-ton dump trucks, 10 new pickup trucks, which have been added to our fleet. We staff 24 hours a day to deal with main breaks to continue to maintain service delivery. Additionally, cold weather increases the risk of meters and interior plumbing freezing. We have increased staffing levels in meter operations with meter technicians to respond to frozen meters. How can you help us? Take steps to winterize your home. If you have a frozen meter or if you see a water main break, please call 664-3060. In Division of Cleveland Public Power, during the winter, our biggest concern is ice on power lines and tree branches. Ice power lines can become very heavier and be more susceptible to breaking and causing power outages. Consequently, we are available 24 hours a day to respond to these emergency situations. How can you help us? If you see a down power line, never touch it. And I repeat, never touch it. Always call Cleveland Public Power at 664-3156 to report it. In the Division of Water Pollution Control, our biggest risks are when we have snow and large snow events that melt. The melting snow can cause sewers to become a little overwhelmed, potentially flooding streets and basements, creating some safety concerns. How can you help us? You can increase your water pollution control staffing, and we have added 6 new vac halls, one which you see right over to the right there, to our fleet as well. We have pre-identified areas of concern, proactively look at catch basins to reduce the likelihood of flooding. We identify flooding issues, we coordinate with the Department of Public Works to properly make sure that they're salted and reduce the safety risks. Now, how can you help? You can keep debris away from the catch basins by shoveling the snow from in front of the basin. If you notice street flooding, call Water Pollution Control at 664-2513. Now, I'm just going to talk real briefly about some tips from Cleveland Water. Winterize your home in advance of cold temperatures. Disconnect and drain outdoor hoses. Use heat tape and pipe installation in in-home plumbing and poorly heated areas. Seal off access doors and cracks. Find the master shutoff valve in case the line freezes, and that's very important. If you have a line freeze, make sure you know where that shutoff valve is. Leave a pencil-thin stream of water running to prevent freezing. With regard to CPP tips, always unplug electric blankets that are not in use. If you have a space heater, keep flammable materials at least 3 feet away from them. Plug it directly into the outlet and not the extension cord. Make sure that electric blankets and space heaters have not been subject to a product recall of any kind. Water pollution control tips. Check your sewer vents to make sure that they're not blocked. Sewer vents can cause sewer gas leaks that could back up, causing illness. If you notice a rotten egg smell of any kind, headaches or nausea, you may have a sewer gas backup. If you have a gas backup, call and make sure that you seek medical attention. And call a licensed bonded plumber to resolve the issue. And then we are ready for all things coming in the winter, so we'll continue to provide the best utility services at an affordable cost. Thank you. Alex, I'm sorry, the EOC manager, Alex Pelham, will tell you a little bit about AVL and everything else.
Thank you. It's Alex Pelham, Emergency Management, Office of Emergency Management. As you've heard a lot today, there are a lot of moving parts with this. Many different departments, many different units on the street. So there's a lot of coordination that must go on. During this, in the case of a snow emergency or a large-scale snow, the Emergency Operations Center will be activated and will coordinate through the Incident Command System. This system provides a nationally accepted command and coordination element in order to bring all these disciplines together in a structured manner. Some examples that the City of Cleveland have used this in the past include the Republican National Convention, the NBA Finals, and our annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. You've heard a lot of preparedness tips today as well. A couple that I'd like to add, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. In these large-scale snow events, make sure you have some non-perishable foods or foods that don't have to be cooked. Make sure you have enough water for your family that equivalates to roughly 1 gallon per person per day. And as a person who has 2 pets adopted from the shelter, take care of the pets. One final piece of being prepared, though, is being connected. In the City of Cleveland, we have a system, which is a mass notification system, that allows us to connect to our residents. It's called Code Red. Please take the time today to sign up. You can sign up for free on the City of Cleveland's website. It's on the right third of the page, as well as call 311 if you're unable to access the internet. What this allows the city to do during these incidents and other severe weather incidents, it allows us to reach out, direct our messaging, and be able to keep our residents and our businesses up to date with what's going on. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Brown for any questions or final comments.
Okay, thank you. A lot of information shared today, but we wanted to make sure that in particular we were very thorough and clear to our residents, about our preparedness, but also a number of tips in order to make sure that we have a safe season. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that a lot of the enhanced services that we've been talking about, and some of it deals with additional equipment, additional staffing, and personnel, would not be possible if it weren't for the generosity and the support of the great citizens of the city of Cleveland. So we personally thank you for the passage of Issue 32, which allows us to do a lot of things that we need to do to improve and enhance quality of life for citizens of the city of Cleveland. So again, thank you in that regard. Now I'll open it up for any questions or concerns regarding any of the presentations.
Yes, sir.
It's obviously been noted by the FAA that Cleveland Hopkins has had a couple of problems, been cited by the FAA for not properly cleaning the runway. Is that where the grants have come from? Is that the direct result of being cited by the FAA?
The FAA looks at, and as I said during my presentation, we've had close cooperation and consultation with the FAA. FAA grants are not solely based upon problems. They're on what they think in enhancing the national air transportation system. So yes, some of the grants that we receive for equipment and for the snow removal equipment were attributed to the problems of the past, and we're very thankful to the FAA, but not solely. We receive other grants as well.
Better prepared now than you were last year and the year before?
And we'll be better prepared next month and the month after and so forth. It's a constant improvement process. That's what airports do. And yes, we've got the staff. I said more than $2 million set aside for material. We've been training for more than 6 weeks now. Yes, I feel very confident, and I've seen a lot of airports, and I'm very, very proud of this team. Thank you. Back to me.
How was the preparations in terms of staffing, the budget, the training? How do they compare to last year?
Since I wasn't here last year, I can only talk about some modifications that we made that I specifically talked about, not necessarily relative to last year, but what we saw about best practices across our industry. And we increased our full-time maintenance staff to add some extra depth there. We have the new equipment that I talked about. And then also we are looking at a more analytical way, a more predictive instead of reactive way in how we source or need to source our material. So it's the analytics, the predictiveness that airports are using instead of being reactive. So that's science of our part of what we do. We're taking across all lines at the airport, not just in field maintenance or operations.
You said you weren't here last year. Is that why you're here now, just because of the problems?
There's only one person that can answer that, and that's my boss, Mayor Jackson. I would guess that I'm going to brag on myself a bit. I have a lot of experience with multiple airports throughout the world, and I think that is being helpful because it's not just one airport and one way of doing it. I have dozens of experience. So. Yeah, I've actually worked at Atlanta, but for the last 6 years I worked for a consulting company, and we worked in China and Indonesia and the Middle East and Africa and Norway and Latin America. So we all face, as airports, we all face the same issues. In Saudi Arabia, it was snowstorms instead of, it was sandstorms instead of snowstorm. But in Norway, it was 180 inches of snow. So as we take that and we amalgamate those best practices, that's what I'm bringing to Cleveland. I don't know that number off the top of my head, but we can find out and get back with you. If you'll let Michelle over there from our team know who you are, and we'll feed that to you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, yeah, all right. Go ahead.
Are there a sense of like how many weather-related accidents, injuries, fatalities there were? I mean, there's a lot of warnings. I think it would be helpful to give people a sense of what happened before, so they're, aware of these things like that.
Again, I think one of the reasons why we came and we gave all these tips today was to suggest or give indications as to things that people ought to do in terms of being prepared. I think the public safety director talked about what happens, what you should do if you have an accident, talked about the operation of forward drive vehicles, people having a false sense of security in terms of speed, etc. And so I think the reason why we mention a number of these things is so that people take more precautions when we have these types of events, take more time, and as he said, in an extreme event, if you don't have to come out, don't come out. So, all right, if there are no other questions, we thank you.